Strange things are done in the land of the midnight sun by men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their sacred tales that would make your blood run cold. And the northern lights, they've seen queer sights, but the queerest they did see was that night on the marge at Lake LaBarge I cremated Sam McGee. Now Sam McGee was from Tennessee, where the cotton blooms and blows. And why he left his home in that sunny south to roam around the pole, God only knows. He was always cold, but that land of gold seemed to hold him like a spell. Though he'd often say in his homely way he'd sooner live in hell. It was on a Christmas day and we were marching our way over the Dawson Trail, and talk of your cold through our package fold it stabbed like a driven nail. And so for eyes we'd close, and lasses they froze till sometimes we could not see. Wasn't much fun, but the only one to whimper was Sam McGee. And that very night, as we laid packed tight in our robes beneath the snow, and the dogs were fed and the stars overhead were dancing heel and toe, Sam turns to me and Cap, says he, I'd cash in this trip, I'd guess. But if I do, I'd ask that you not refuse my last request. Well, he seemed so low, I just couldn't say no, as he says with a sort of a moan, 'Tis this cursed cold, and it's got the right hold, till I'm chilled clean through the bone. Yet it ain't being dead, it's my awful dread of the icy grave that pains. I want you to swear that foul affair you cremate my last remains. Well, a pal's last need is a thing to heed, so I swore I wouldn't fail. We started on at the streak of dawn, but God, he looked ghastly pale. He crouched on his sleigh and he raved all day of his home in Tennessee. And before nightfall, the corpse was all that remained of Sam McGee. Well, you couldn't catch breath in that land of death, so I hurried, horrid driven, with a corpse half hid that I couldn't get rid because of a promise given. It was lashed to the sleigh and it seemed to say, You may tax your brawn and brain, but you promised true, now it's up to you, cremate these last remains. Well, a promise made is a debt unpaid, and the trail has its own stern code. And in the days to come, though my lips were numb, in my heart how I curse that load. And in long, long nights by the lone firelight, while the huskies gathered round a ring, howled out their woes to the homeless snows, oh God, how I loathe that thing. And every day that quiet clay seemed to heavy and heavier grow. And on I went, though the dogs were spent and the grub was getting low. And the trail was bad and I felt half mad, but I swore I wouldn't give in. And I'd often sing that hateful thing and it hearkened with a grin. Till one day we came to the marge of Lake LaBarge, and the dirk there lay. She was jammed in the ice, and I saw in a trace she was called the Alice May. Well, I looked at it, and I thought a bit, and I looked at my frozen chum, and here, says I, with a sudden cry, is my crematorium. Some plank I tore from the cabin floor, I lit that boiler fire. Some coal I found lying around, I heaped the fuel higher. Oh, the flames soared, the furnace roared, such a blaze you seldom see. Then I burrowed a hole in that glowing coal, and I stuffed in Sam McGee. Then I made a hike, for I did not like to hear him sizzle so. Oh, the heavens scowled, and the huskies howled, and the wind began to blow. It was icy cold, but the hot sweat rolled down my cheek, and I don't know why. And the greasy smoke and an inky cloak went streaking down the sky. I do not know how long in the snow I wrestled with grisly fear, but the stars came out and danced about, and here again I ventured near. I was sick with dread, but I bravely said I'd take a peek inside. As I think he's cooked, and it's time I looked, and the door I opened wide. And there sat Sam, cool and calm in the heat of the furnace roar. He wore a smile, you could see a mile, and he said, Please close that door. For it's nice in here, but I very much fear you're less in the cold and the storm. Since I left Plum Tree down in Tennessee, it's the first time I've been warm. Strange things are done in the land of the midnight sun by men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their sacred tales that make your blood run cold. And the northern lights, they've seen queer sights, but the queerest they did see was that night on the marge at Lake LaBarge I cremated Sam McGee. Well, Sue requested this for anybody that happens to be listening to this. There you go. She suggested that I get a couple of beers in and do the story that I like to tell around the fires. So this is going to be the first of what may be several fireside chats or stories. Go ahead and leave a comment. Tell me what you think. If you're new to this operation, like and subscribe, because who knows? Might be able to make a living out of this. Stranger things have happened. I ain't much to look at, but I hope to be fun to watch. We'll see ya.